Good morning, guys. Welcome to the 3M Affairs podcast. Today we are talking about John Wick, his house, and some film industry news. I'm here with Caleb John Cushing.
Hello.
And Josh Sturt.
What's up? Good morning. Why is everybody so subdued? It's Thursday. I feel great.
It's literally freezing outside. Like it's 32 degrees, and I had to walk all the way from Queens. So I had to get started at 8 p.m. last night.
Oh, I always forget you're in Queens now.
Yeah.
I guess
It was basically like a pretty epic journey. You guys I had a lot of adventures and
you got a Peter Parker vibe now, you know?
Yeah.
Queens, baby.
Queens. That is true. Speaking of Peter Parker. So my favorite Twitter account, I think, is called Chaos Walking News. I don't know if you guys are familiar, if you're on Twitter at all. So there's this movie called Chaos Walking that was supposed to come out. It's like whatever. It's supposed to be the new young adult novel franchise thing. It's like a dumb sci-fi thing for teenagers.
Kind of like Maze Runner or...
Yeah, it looks very much like a Maze Runner, Hunger Games. That brand. So the movie was supposed to come out in like Blockbuster season 2019 and it got delayed pretty indefinitely. And then this Twitter account comes up and like every day they like spam pictures of like the leads are Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley. And it's just pictures of them in all contexts being like trailer when, when's the trailer? And they like at Universal, like they tag like the studios. They're like, please, we're dying. Give us the, it's just it's so clearly like run by a teenage girl. You know what I mean? Or like just like the exact demographic these movies like are sort of advertising to are that like Tumblr crowd of like, you know, whatever teen heartthrob is like quote unquote being stanned. You know, it's just that's just so clearly what it is. And then so recently Universal started to like play along and they tweeted out last week, feeling a little chaotic today. And then like the Twitter account goes fucking nuts. And I just think it's the funniest thing in the world. And then to this morning, or I don't know if it was this morning, I saw it this morning, it might have been last night. They dropped finally the trailer for this movie called Chaos Walking. And it looks fucking terrible.
Okay, but I wonder if you feel the same way. Josh, did you get to watch the trailer?
I watched the trailer, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but after watching the trailer, I'm like, oh, I get why this has been sidelined for so long. You know what I mean? Because at first, when that all happened, the head of whatever studio was making it came out and apparently was like, this thing's unwatchable.
Yeah.
Like, this is unwatchable. What the fuck? Like, they went and did reshoots and stuff, I'm pretty sure. Well,
because they filmed in Montreal, but then they did reshoots in Georgia, like, over 2 years later. So it's going to be so fun to look at, like, Tom Holland when he was, like, before he could grow facial hair, and then Tom Holland after he could grow facial hair. Because there's no way. I mean, that never happens. Usually, movies that are that bad, they just dump them in January, right? But this movie, they shelved it. They did reshoots and they're still jumping in January. It's going to be one of the worst things that we've ever seen. And I cannot tell you guys how excited I am to watch it.
But it's because of all the mind thoughts. That's what they had to figure out. It could still be a good movie, but they had to figure out how to do the mind thoughts and make it watchable.
Here's the thing. So,
I think that's very optimistic that's the only issue. This thing has 9 writers.
Well, yeah, I think Caleb, when he says it's going to be terrible, I think it's because it's going to be so, for me, even just watching the trailer, I have no idea what the book's about. I have no idea. I'm going to go into it with no clue. But what it looked like to me was another kind of manufactured, like your same formulaic teen, like sci-fi, you know, we named The Hunger Games, we named Maze Runner, even like Dune, but like the Dune I'm actually looking forward to next year because I'm currently reading the book. I'm almost done with book 2. Jessica's just doing her test right now with the Water of Life.
So
and like
good.
There's ways that you can like things that are even like Dune that we did an episode about the 1984 Dune where like the whole like thought like them the Bene Gesserit or whatever, like that all doesn't really make sense on paper, but like it reads better than whatever the fuck projection that they're like the head wasp thing, like the energy around their heads are going to be. And I feel like when you have too many people like putting their hands in the cookie jar, the fact that they did research 2 years later, like it's not going to be coherent. It's not going to be.
Well, And Josh, the scary thought is if the head wasp is where they landed now, 2 years later after reshoots.
Sure, can you imagine?
How bad was that before? Like the first time around.
Well, why doesn't the studio just say
you
don't do it?
You have to keep in mind that's got to be one of the first things that you talk about. Like when you're adapting a book, which the whole conceit of it is that people communicate with their thoughts, which works when you're reading because you just read it, right? Like when you're reading words on a page, you can like for instance, more believable to buy into that. But for a movie, they have it's like this weird like color prism happening around their faces, and the thing is, it looks so dumb, right? So you should lean into that. That's going to look ridiculous no matter what. But everyone in this movie is playing it so completely straight. You have like Mads Mikkelsen, you have David Oyelowo, and they're just like scowling, and it's like, the noise, and the women are dead. It's like, dude, come on. Nick Jonas is like, hey, watch your noise. It's like, shut up. It's
hey.
I don't give a shit. Whatever you're about to say doesn't matter. I don't care.
He's just out there working hard. All right, that dude's just out there working. Just so, I don't want to hear it.
The issues. It's gonna be exactly like all of these movies that have to get reshoots, like Justice League, for instance, or Fan Four Stick. Like you're gonna be able to tell exactly what the first set of series was, and then you're gonna see, and it's just not gonna be coherent exactly. It's a dumb.
Don't care though. Justice League looks fucking dope.
Come on.
The new trailer.
Come on.
Well, no. He's talking about the theatrical release.
I was obviously talking about the first run of it.
No, but I'm saying now we're getting the,
right.
Yeah, so they made Steppenwolf look really edgy. He has all those blades, and he's got a cool helmet now. It's gonna be a movie so sick, man.
Okay. Awesome. But
Josh, I don't like what he's doing.
Yeah, that's why I'm moving on. So
let's go badass, bro. It's gonna be fucking sick. Zack Snyder's the coolest guy ever.
We're gonna be talking about someone badass
nerds,
all
dude. He
day.
said my movie's for grown-ups, you guys.
Right.
Anyway, so Chaos Walking.
So if you guys want a little,
you gotta watch the trailer. Just watch the trailer. It's so funny.
Please watch the trailer. But
so funny.
I want to make one point too in terms of like going from page to the medium of movies. For instance, like in Dune,
the medium of movies.
Going
Cinema,
from
film.
Yeah, exactly.
Kino.
Yes. Are you done?
I could keep going, but if you want me to be done, I could be done.
I would just like to make this point before we move on. But like in Dune, so the Bene Gesserit can like read thoughts, or they have these different thoughts. That's all italicized, because in print you can italicize it, and so for the reader, it's very clear on what's in their head and what's not. Mm-hmm. It didn't really work for the movie because it wasn't really explained well. But I'm hopeful for this for in October next year when Dune comes out. But that with Chaos, in terms of Chaos Walking, I'm sure, that's the kind of the same thing where like when you're reading the book, you're like, okay, cool. This is kind of a interesting thing. But then having to try and translate that into a movie is going to be
some
horrendous.
Things work better in different mediums, some concepts. So it's like not everything needs to be made into a movie. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Well, the problem is, it's the same thing we talked about with Dune, and why I am excited about it being Timothée Chalamet is because if you can see enough behind his eyes with thinking as an actor, it helps a lot. Josh, exactly what you were saying. One of my favorite books growing up was Ender's Game, and I was so excited for that movie when it came out when we were younger, and it just didn't translate because the whole thing is in Ender's head. It's how he thinks. That's what is much like in Dune. That's what separates him. And to then cast kids to do it, it just didn't translate, and they didn't do like a narration or anything like that. A lot, it was just, and it's Asa Butterfield, he was fantastic, but it just didn't, it's so tough to do. Yeah,
these movies are bad because they're not trying to tell stories. This is very transparently trying to be the next big franchise. You know what I mean? That's the goal. Yeah. The goal is like, we'll take this book and this idea that I haven't read the book. It sounds like it could make for an interesting young adult story. Like I'm saying, like when you do it in print, it's way easier to get those ideas across in a not goofy way. Mm-hmm. But like when you have to visualize it, you get the fucking glitchy shit on their faces, and you have these, and like, I don't know, like I'm sure the trailers aren't always the best indicator, but all the performances don't look that great. There's a lot of silly voiceover stuff. So it looks like garbage, and I'm really excited to watch it. Genuinely, I cannot wait to see it because I think it's going to be one of the funniest things we've ever seen. I cannot wait. I hope that everybody involved manages to. What?
Well, that's what we were talking about that earlier, right? Where obviously Tom Holland will be fine, but I mean, Daisy Ridley's been in a bunch of stuff recently.
But like,
I'm sure she'll be fine either way.
Though, right? Like you have to imagine, like
I think she's been doing, I want to say a series or something. I can't remember what.
Like,
though.
If you look at her resume, it's like Star Wars should, like, it happens all the time where these like young actors get these huge franchises, but if they don't capitalize on that soon enough, you know, she did that Shakespeare movie that nobody saw. She like, and I don't even know what else, you know, and it's upsetting because like she's great, and you have to imagine that like this piece of shit gets shelved, and she's like, oh, at least no one's gonna see this, and it's getting released like 2 years later, and she doesn't have anything already set in stone.
No, but again, but you know how it works. I mean, she did 2 years, which means how much stuff has she filmed in the meantime? That's coming out in the next couple years.
That's what I'm saying, though. I haven't seen her. She hasn't been in the consciousness really in the same way that like Tom Holland has. Like he's in every movie now. You know, that's what I'm saying.
And I like that because I like Tom Holland and I enjoy his work.
That's fine.
See, differentiating of opinions.
What? We wanted to talk. Brandon, you brought up Batman Beyond. Now, I guess. Yeah.
So I just saw a report on Twitter this morning. I don't think it's confirmed yet, but it's being reported that Chalamet is going to be Terry McGinnis, and though with Michael Keaton, both attached to the project. So I don't know. I hope that happens.
This is going to be a movie or a series?
I'm not sure. I mean, we were talking about this before. I'm assuming a movie, but
it's just so.
Here's the thing, because Michael Keaton's coming back, right? Already, so you're gonna open up that world again. Because
Michael Keaton's coming back in the Flash movie, right?
Yeah.
And so you're wondering if in the movie itself, but then HBO's also talked about with Warner Brothers doing kind of TV series, like 8 episode, 10 episode series, doing like kind of the in between of the movies, right? So, you know, we've already talked about how they're going to do like a Commissioner Gordon type of thing between the Batman, Robert Pattinson Batman.
Yeah, I think they just lost their director for that.
Really?
Yeah.
What is, like,
that's amazing.
People need to commit to their projects. Come on.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's because these
showrunner.
fucking people clearly have no idea what they're doing. And then these directors come out. It's like, oh, I'm not gonna fucking be involved in this shit if you won't like let me do my job.
Sure.
Like they are so in the red. Like they need a win. They need one of these fucking movies or TV shows to be good.
But they will. But I mean, first of all, Justice League will be a win. When that Green Lantern show, Josh, comes out, that's going to be fucking fire.
Yeah. My brother shared like a cast list of that. And I wasn't sure if that was just fan made or.
I don't think it's come out yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was just fan made. People just fantasizing about who they want.
I really don't think Justice League is going to be. I'm not talking about money, by the way. I'm talking about like. I'm
sorry. I was talking about money. Justice League.
Obviously. Well, obviously, everybody's going to watch it. It's going to do really big numbers for them. But I'm talking about like none of these movies have really been good. That's up to taste. None of these movies have been
for HBO Max.
Great. Though? HBO Max has all the HBO stuff. That's what I'm saying.
No, but I mean, like, okay, like I think, if I'm wrong, let me know. But I think what you mean is like Amazon started, getting nominated for Academy Awards. Netflix movies started getting nominated for Academy Awards. Mm-hmm. You're doing all these other things, but then you're also doing that as well, which is important.
I think also like with like the superhero genre of a movie or like they have all these projects in the works of like these different TV shows and Batman Beyond, Green Lantern Corps, the Batman, even the Commissioner Gordon. It's like they're throwing all of these things to the wall. Did they make
Alfred an action hero in his own show or whatever?
Wasn't that called like Pennyworth or something? Pennyworth?
Yeah. Also, I watched the first couple episodes. It's fucking dope. It's coming back for another season. Like I'm gonna finish that off because it's just like 100%. Yes, Caleb, it's ridiculous. But the kid they found to play him and what they're doing, they're just like, yeah, he's young James Bond virtually in a way, with actually like he's not involved with the government, but that is his backstory, and I'm down for it. It's just fun and like old British. It's all.
I'm sure it's great.
Yeah, it's fun.
I think from what I'm surmising from what Caleb says, like that Warner Brothers keeps trying to like open up all of these like these projects, and like not one of them has had like a critical success or like the momentum that let's say Marvel has had, Disney has had with everything like that. So it's like you keep going up to bat and you keep missing. Minus, I feel like maybe the Joker or Wonder Woman or something like that in terms of solid standalone
Joker doesn't
stuff.
even really count.
Because it's not part of anything.
Because it's not part of this DCEU thing. Like that was Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix doing their own movie. Yeah. Like I'm talking about from like DCEU's
The DC,
attempting to compete with the MCU, which is what they're doing.
Sorry. I thought you were talking about like them as a studio, fully. All right, no.
In terms of like why they keep bringing up all of these kind of interconnected like
they're trying to do the same thing, and it just hasn't worked. In my opinion, it hasn't worked.
Here's the thing, though, and I agree. It's not even close to being a 1-to-1. And then again, you have like the Joker, which is an outlier. But now with Flashpoint, you have an opportunity to try to get Joaquin Phoenix in there if you want to, which again, it's not going to be.
I agree with you, Brandon. I would say let's get Flashpoint out first and then figure out what other projects that we can, because that's the thing is that Marvel did the individual movies before they started bringing in the Avengers, and then it went from there. For DC, they're trying to do it like with the why Justice League failed. They tried doing it all at once and then going from there. And if Michael Keaton is going to be old Batman, old Bruce Wayne, and Flashpoint, fucking awesome. Let's get the Flash movie
Michael Keaton, Affleck,
and Ben Affleck if he's going to do a swan song out. Yeah, like let that happen. Let that movie be made. Focus on that, and then go from there and announce Batman Beyond and announce like all these other things. Like make sure you kind of can start in a foundation where people are like, okay, cool, we can get behind this, and then build from there. You know, yes, I know they want to get like, they're just never going to catch Marvel. Marvel has 25 movies out. They're so formulated. What do you call it? Formulaic. You know, they plan 10 years in advance what movies they're going to do, and they all work together to like tell these stories.
They crushed.
You know, and they're not the DCEU, whatever they're going to try and do, and that's why Joker came out, is because they're like, you know what, we're going to step back from this whole like connected universe thing and just do our own shit, and that was more successful. So I'm hoping that just start with one and then go from there. You know, have the Batman come out and then do this TV series. You know, don't
exactly. But the Batman I think is going to be dope. But even more so, what I'm getting more and more excited about is Suicide Squad 2.
That's the only one that I have any like remote interest in watching, just because it is like. They hired this director, and it seems like they're going to let him do whatever he wants. Because the biggest problem for me is that it's so clear, and this is a Marvel problem too. It's not even that I'm just shitting on DC. Like all of these movies, they hire these directors and don't let them do their goddamn job.
Yeah,
and like,
I mean, Suicide Squad 1 is the perfect example of that. What they did to David Ayer is ridiculous.
That legitimately might be one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Yeah,
and it's
also it looks great. And all the pieces were there for it to be
worse
fun.
than Crash.
Oh no! Now we're getting riled up.
Poking the bear.
At least, you know what? Dude, you know what I'll say?
I was riled up for days after.
At least,
that's all I want to say.
At least Crash had a POV. It's a POV that I
7 POVs.
Really, I mean, in terms of the writing of it, like it had. No, I'm being serious. It had like a point that people were trying to make. Suicide Squad is just the epitome of everything I'm talking about. It's soulless. It's just it's like clearly a conglomerate, a faceless studio being like, what do the kids like? What can we do to make a profit? Like, there's just no heart to it at all.
I think I agree wholeheartedly. I think there was a movie there with David Ayer, and then they just blew that shit up. You know what I mean? Because David Ayer doesn't like he has a vision as a movie maker. He always does. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I wouldn't say he's infallible. I think like even if you look at like the seams of the construction, it's like. I don't think that movie was a lost masterpiece because of like that movie was always going to be bad.
But I'm saying it would have been better for sure. Would have been better, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it would have been more cohesive and like and like coherent. I don't know if it would have enjoyed it. Maybe I wouldn't have hated it as much.
Well, then what have you heard about the second Suicide Squad? Like, why?
Here's my thing with that. Okay, so James Gunn, who I think is legitimately brilliant at what he does. I think the Guardians movies are like 2 of the best in the Marvel thing. He also makes like these great indie movies. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen Super, where Dwight Schrute plays like a mentally handicapped person who decides to be a vigilante. It's fucking hilarious. He has this great horror movie called Slither. So it's like, okay, we'll hire this guy and we'll leave him the fuck alone and we'll just let him do what he wants to do. Apparently he's been a fan of the comics since he was a kid. He found like these random, like, who the fuck is Polka Dot Man? I don't know, but it looks fucking hilarious. He looks like he's not taking it too seriously.
You know what, man? It's not that, Polka Dot Man is not that deep of a cut.
Maybe, but
what I'm saying is like
people who are used to like, oh, okay, I know who Batman is, I know who Superman is, I know who Spider-Man is. Most people don't know who the fuck Polka Dot Man is, but he's in the lead of this movie.
And bro, even more so, like, I'm a massive comic book nerd, especially DC. There's characters in it I've never heard of,
which is cool. And then but the big thing I think that one of the reasons why I think this movie might be received a little better. It's got a great cast from top to bottom, but it seems like the story is more appropriate for a movie like this. It seems like it's a bunch of mercenaries and people that aren't gods going into like a South American, like, I don't know, drug cartel or like a war or whatever. When you get like, I watched the first movie and I'm like, what the fuck is Captain Boomerang going to do against Superman? Right? That's the conceit of that movie.
Hit him with a kryptonite boomerang.
The conceit of the movie is like, we need a contingency plan for a literal alien god. Yeah. We're going to get Harley Quinn. Like, that makes no sense. Yeah. So this movie, at least they're treating, like, it seems like they're going into it with all the right pieces on the board. It looks like they're letting the director make the movie he wants to make. So I think at the very least, it's going to be an entertaining ride, even if it's not this like profound artistic statement, which I don't think any of these movies ever will be. But
no, they don't have to be.
Right, which is why I think it's silly that people are excited for Zack Snyder, because that's what he's trying to do with it. And it's like, just let James Gunn make a silly movie with a fucking weasel. It's a giant shark that has arms and can talk. Also, it's silly. Let it be silly. And I think this movie is going to be silly in a good way. Sorry.
No, you just reminded me, by the way, to give DC credit. Their animated stuff is way better.
Because that's a medium that this stuff suits.
Like, yeah, I'm just saying though, I just thought about that. The shows like Harley Quinn's a hit for them right now. Young Justice.
Because they made it funny. Because they let it be funny.
I will say introducing King Shark, though, is going to be cool because that's a really cool Flash villain. But I think if you introduce him in Suicide Squad, that's a vehicle for then. Once Flashpoint comes out, the second Flash movie, he could be like a thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then in the Harley Quinn show, the cartoon, they made him. Dude, like
he's so funny. I love that Clayface is like a thespian, like a classic actor. Like that's.
Is it the same guy? Because they're having comedian Steve Agee voice him in the movie. In that, I don't know if it's the same guy in the show.
No, it's. I think it's Ron Funches.
I'm looking it up.
Oh, that's funny.
Show. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. These movies have always been. I haven't enjoyed really any of them. I think the closest I came to enjoying one was Shazam, and even that one's like not that great.
I like Shazam. Yo, how good is that casting for the older and younger kids at the end? But Adrian Brody for that other kid is perfect.
Megan Good made me laugh.
King Shark in the Harley Quinn animated series on HBO is Ron Funches.
Yeah, Ron Funches.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
He's got a pretty distinct voice, so I would have been surprised if you threw him out and were wrong about it.
But then, like, it's also like every time he talks, like you can also kind of see his face, which is hilarious because it's also King Shark.
Yeah.
But so we watched another movie before we get to our main thing, John Wick, today, and we watched a movie called His House that was suggested. I'm gonna let you guys take over because I was. Whelmed by it, I guess is the best way to put it.
You were meaning it just kind of was like a meh thing to you?
Yeah. I wish it had not been a horror movie, and I kind of wish we had just focused on like the actual story, I was even kind of hoping that there wasn't any horror elements going on by the end of it, and it was just all their conscience and guilt and stuff.
Well, sure. I think that's sort of, it's like a metaphor for their guilt.
No, I know.
I see what you're saying. Right. I don't know. Yeah, it's a movie about Sudanese refugees who are escaping the war in South Sudan, and they are attempting to sort of assimilate into the UK, into London. One of the married couple is attempting to really like do what the caseworkers are asking him to do. He's trying to, go to football matches. He's trying to really become English, and his wife is really trying to hold on to her heritage and doesn't feel like they belong. And they get placed into this housing unit where spooky, creepy things start to happen. This is a movie that's currently out on Netflix, and we're going to be spoiler talking about it. So just like go into this conversation knowing that. I thought it was fun. Like, it wasn't like my favorite movie I've seen all year, but I felt like thoroughly like creeped out and disturbed for most like the beginning of it. Like I found it was really effective, and I think like in my opinion, there are some really amazing shots. The cinematography was pretty great across the board.
The visuals were fantastic.
I enjoyed the performances. I thought both of the leads did a great job. I felt that the movie did a smart thing by in the last act kind of focusing on Sudan and like what that was like, kind of escaping the genocide and crossing the ocean. I found it really tragic what happened to that little girl.
Great twist.
Yeah, that reveal at the end.
I kind of predicted it. I was like,
"Oh, really?"
Did you? Oh, I didn't.
Well, as soon as they go, so the whole thing, right, is the wife is like, we're being haunted by an apeth, which is their word for, which is the Dinku word for it translates to night witch, like an evil spirit, and she's like, so the debt hasn't been paid. So okay. So what do we know about this guy? The daughter's guy. I'm assuming that it's not. Because so also knowing this is a refugee story, a thing like a phenomenon that happens is individuals will kind of meet up as they're getting into whatever country they're seeking asylum into and like pretend that they're a family, which like quote unquote gives them a better chance of being granted asylum. So it's like, oh, I bet that they're not even related at all. But I guess they were actually married, and it was just they kidnapped a little girl to be their daughter, which is fucking horrifying and fucked up.
I don't know. See, I don't know, because I don't know if they're actually married, because when they're on the bus, like they're not, like she looks back at him and because the girl's screaming.
Well,
like,
I think she's disgusted that he ripped that girl away from her mother, who's like chasing after them, because he comes to the school to get her at her job. And remember when she like, and then she comes out at the massacre of like all of her coworkers, I'm assuming. So I think we are to infer that they are married. But also, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe that they weren't. They were strangers.
I thought I was creeped out at the beginning. You know, with anything like what's great about these movies is like you get close up on the face, you blur out the background, so you don't really know what's going to happen. Like the pulling the wire out of the wall, and then it's the rope with the seaweed, and it's just great. And then like obviously the spirit that's haunting him, you know, with the mask was creepy as shit. So that's all great. And I knew it was going to be a horror movie because until they changed the poster on Netflix to the guy's face, the husband's face, what it was when I first added to the list was the hole in the wall with the mask in it, right? So I was like, okay, this is going to be fucked up.
That mask was creepy.
And that's the thing with like horror movies. What I love, a lot of horror movies you go in either for like the and I'm sorry, I think, you know, our radiator behind us is hissing a little bit. So if people can hear that on on the microphone, I apologize to our listeners. It's fucking cold and it's New York
winter.
City.
Yeah, deal with it.
So, I thought it was a really, really great balance of story and of the horror aspect of it. Because a lot of the times you sacrifice one for the other, right? And so, usually some of these horror movies that we've seen, it's like it's all about the brutal murders and like the jump scares and things like that, and the creepiness of it. And the story is just kind of like, this like pieced together story, right? The fact that, you know, the whole refugee thing, trying to find asylum in the UK, how people treat them in the UK, even black English kids are like telling her to go back to her country. Like there was like that kind of prejudice there. That's probably,
I felt that was a really effective moment because like it illustrated it's not about like your skin color or your race. It's like you're still othered. Like you just do not belong here.
Right.
For her psychology, it's like, oh God, like we have to just go back to feel. And that's why I think that it works as a horror movie, because it's a horrifying situation. Like in the real world, being like a refugee of war and like being torn from your culture to like another across the ocean, watching like all of these people die only to be not accepted and to be like judged and to be so kind of feel so rejected and alienated that it's like I would rather go back to this place we fled from. I feel like that all really worked for me. And like absolutely. When you see like the fucking ghost or the demon at the end or whatever, it's a little goofy. You know, the CGI wasn't always the best, but I feel like in concept, I feel like it was just a really interesting execution for this idea.
Yeah, and I mean, you go down to it was sprinkled very well with the culture. Like she said, there's two tribes. There was one like listen to this story, and like I love the dichotomy of his reaction to the spirit and her reaction to the spirit, where she's fully like, she knows exactly what it is, she knows exactly what it wants, like, and she's dealing with it in her own way. Like, she's fearless essentially because she knows what it is, right?
Yeah.
And he's freaking out because he's forcing himself to assimilate to this culture that's not theirs. You know, it's like the whole thing with just even down to the details of eating, right? With silverware versus with your hands.
Yeah, she wanted to eat with her hands.
You know, and it's just like, all I taste is the metal, and like, oh, you'll get used to it. He tries so hard, and
that's okay. Sorry, I'm stupid. I was like, why does the food taste like metal?
It's because he's using a fork. Yeah,
the fork.
Got it.
But then definitely the shots of the water and the whole.
Oh my god! When we talked about this too. When he's eating and they just like they keep pulling back on him and he's in the ocean at sunset.
That one, or I mean the other one when he's with the demon, he's laughing at him. The demon's like, go to sleep, and then he's like transitions to him again in the. But it transitions to him in the water first before going to catatonic, and it's like waist deep.
Well, even the him in the water, and then hit the arms pulling his hands down, and then putting his head. It's all his arms, but the way they do it, it looked really well done.
They pulled a really couple of great shots off. One of my favorites was when the wife, is like looking into the walls, and you just see all these eyes. Staring, and I was like, "Oh, fuck that! No, thank you."
All of that whole conceit was very well done. Also, having the different layers for the like actress who was playing the kid to run through in the walls.
Mm-hmm. Oh my god,
was amazing.
I mean,
I'd be really curious how they built that set. I would love to know. How they did all that.
Like, it looks like it's got to be just just layered like scaffolding behind it, right?
Yeah.
So that girl can just like run around.
Yeah, it's like a McDonald's play place, but. And
she's just screeching and jumping out of the. It's cool.
She was fantastic.
So that
little girl was fantastic with her movement.
Nagak, I think her character name was. Yeah,
and then layered with the social workers coming in, checking on the house.
Yeah, you had Doctor Who being like, it's just such a piece of shit. He's like, I hope you guys are, one of the good ones. It's like, it's just so slimy and gross, and you have like their neighbors being like, leave.
She played it fantastic. I really like seeing that. It was really like reserved performance from Matt Smith, where I'm used to seeing him as the Doctor, where it's very like over the top. I thought it was great.
Well, he definitely did a cool nuanced thing where like part of the time, you could see that there was a little bit of heart. Like he did at some point be like, this does suck. Here you go. This
I'm just doing my job to report this.
Yeah. Well, and then it's interesting because it's the difference of like, I think they're trying to illustrate this difference in cultural beliefs. Cause like, he's like talking about like a ghost and the house is haunted, and he's like, "Oh, Jesus fucking Christ," But like, these people clearly have PTSD. You know what I mean? It's about like finding compassion. Like, I don't know. I found it to be very interesting. I thought my favorite line in the whole movie, was the wife when she goes, after everything that we've seen and everything we've been through, you think that I could be afraid of ghosts? And I was like, damn, that's cool. Like, that's badass. And it makes a lot of sense because she's the one who's like, we have to confront this. We have to like deal with what we've done and face, kind of our consequences of our actions.
Yeah.
And then, but then Brandon was like, when you what did you text us? You were like, when she just stabs him in the neck, and you were like, what the fuck?
Okay, so what the fuck? What the fuck? And that's why, like, that's my only real issue with the movie, where it's like, okay, you build this all up, and I understand that it's a metaphor and blah, blah, blah. She literally just stabbed him in the neck. The demon, I mean, who up until this point has, you just took everything that was psychological and could have been more interesting. Like, I would have been happier if she cut herself in the same way that he did to do whatever it was, but like that the whole thing became more psychological as opposed to her literally stabbing a demon in the throat.
Oh, you liked the on the fence thing of like, is it real? Is it not real? Is it?
And because Josh, like you were saying, the story itself is so good, and this, their story was better, and the story when it came together with the guilt and them trying to overcome that, and that was better to me, So I had hoped that ending would have been more going the other way, more her figuring something out or doing something as opposed to stabbing him in the face. I would have preferred for him to like dissipate or disappear because she'd done something else, Sure. That's all I mean. I was just like, you literally just stabbed him in the throat. It was cool, but he's a demon, so I don't believe you.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing to that, I'll say, I think the logic for me was that he was finally, because the whole thing was like he had to open up his flesh for him or whatever, and so he was kind of, which is one of the most gruesome looking practical effects I've ever seen.
Yo, that was sick.
Like literally, I almost threw up. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that was the moment where Emily was like, Jesus. She like walked away. She's like, I can't with this anymore.
But like, because he's connected to the physical world, she was able to.
Yeah, I think my thing. That's what I was like. Oh, that makes
No, I got that too. I gathered that, and I was like, that's clever, and I like it. I just would have preferred, because I enjoyed what was happening psychologically so much. Yeah, that's all.
The performances were great. So like even like the transitions between the dream world versus like her realization of like what's happening, like when she's back at the school, and to then her waking up outside the house. And I know we're essentially explaining this movie for our listeners, but please still, we're saying go check it out because it is worth the watch. Those transitions were really great in my opinion. I was definitely engaged.
Well, and that's the thing. Like the acting was so good, especially. I mean, the two of them had so much chemistry and were fantastic, and that what carries this movie. Visual effects. But if it wasn't, these actors who were doing an amazing job, you would have lost me way faster.
Yeah, it's only 90 minutes, and I'm
also I don't generally like horror movies. That's the thing. You know what I mean? So I'm not coming at it from like oh cool. I'm just like, it just doesn't do it for me.
I don't know if I knew that about you. I didn't know if you were.
I don't dislike horror movies. I'm just like, meh.
It's not the first thing on the list that you like go to.
Right. But then obviously everything we're at now is like Venn diagrammy too, right? Because even this is like, it's like a psychological
this is like
movie thriller.
As much as a refugee drama.
Right, exactly. It's just for me, I preferred that part of it. So when the end turned into more, I was like, okay, that's cool. And I get that. I just personally would have preferred if it had turned into more of a, psychological refugee drama.
Yeah. I mean, just like Saw is a movie about a really bad trip to the doctor, the hospital.
Yeah, but like smart doctor.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for the pick, Caleb. Everybody go check it out on Netflix.
It was just, Netflix has got all the shit. They're going to have that new David Fincher movie in a couple of weeks, which I'm fucking stoked about. Yeah.
What one's that?
It's called Mank. It's about the guy who wrote Citizen Kane. Gary Oldman's going to play him.
Oh, shit.
And you know that I love me some Fincher boys. So we're going to have to talk about that one.
He's the man. Also, really quickly, have you guys seen the trailer for this show on Netflix that is like somebody's, like my auntie's house or whatever? It's like Andy Samberg and a bunch of people.
Auntie Donna's whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, they're Australian sketch comedy. So this is actually cool. So remember like way in towards the beginning, there was that stop motion short film.
Yes.
So the guy who made that, his name's Michael Shanks, and he's worked with these guys a bunch. So I've seen like sketches of them before. So I was like, oh, this is cool. I haven't checked out any of the Netflix show, but that's just like a fun little connection. I
mean, it just looks like ridiculous and funny, and like they're doing like, kid show, but it's them.
I feel like Netflix does this a lot, where like there will be a new, even if it's not strictly a sketch, there'll be like a new comedy series every year or 2 years that they'll like promote, but like it always ends up not being. It's just all that shit is always just so hit or miss for me. I find like I'll give it a shot.
It just pops up. That's the thing, and like, but it just pops up on Netflix, and I have no idea what it is. Like, I've never heard of the show before. And I'm like, that's Andy Samberg. Cool, I like Andy Samberg. And then I'm just like, I don't know what this is. Like, there's no marketing behind it that I've seen at all.
Some people say there's too much content.
Yeah.
And we're doing a podcast.
We're doing a podcast
because there is so much content.
Speaking of content that there will never be too much of.
Sorry, I don't. Because that was a great segue.
That was a great segue. What are you doing?
Are we not rating? We don't have to. If we just wanted to recommend it, I just wanted to
know. Yeah. I mean, we can rate it now. I'm giving it a 3.5. Just right in the middle,
Yeah, I'll give it a 3.5 too. It was a solid flick.
Yeah,
recommend it.
I would say, guys, I would say it's a 3.5.
Guys, I think we should email them, tell them that it's 3.5.
That's so condescending.
To
if we
whom it may
actually send an
concern.
email and be like, we just wanted you to know that we all decided your movie was a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, now I feel bad.
No, it is. I think it's a great first feature, and that makes a lot of really smart choices.
Sorry, is it also a first feature?
To my knowledge, it is.
I love that because they did so much unique shit.
Yeah, it was a really
stuff.
great execution of a concept, and I'm really interested in this person's next job they do. I'm really interested to see what they do next. But yeah, cool watch. It's nice, not a long commitment. But sorry, Brandon, I ruined your amazing segue, and I apologize.
Speaking of amazing segues and apologizing.
Sure.
So, John Wick, the man, the legend, Keanu Reeves, fucking just watched it again last night. Just endlessly entertaining. I don't know. I wanted to watch it. We haven't done an action movie yet. Like, or at least like a modern action movie. I watching it again enjoyed it so much more than I thought I would for the 30th time. It's just, I don't know. What do you guys with thoughts?
Well,
it's John Wick.
I like it. It's undeniably well choreographed and executed.
Mm-hmm.
For me, this was my second time watching it, and I enjoyed it less than the first time I did. I think for me, it's just kind of like baked in this aesthetic that I don't really enjoy. It's very like badass, and it's very like the sound
neo-noir,
like the soundtrack, and like the way that the editing outside of the action scenes is done. I'm not it's just I just don't think it's my thing.
It's not your tone.
It's definitely not. I would never say that it's bad, but I had a hard time getting into it personally.
No, totally.
When I first watched John Wick a couple of years ago, I had watched it the same time so I watched the first one, the chapter 2, and then me, Ryan, and my now roommate Antoine went to the third movie. So I saw all 3 of them in the same day. And I thoroughly enjoyed that day because I got I didn't have to wait for it all. And by the end of the third movie, I was like, oh shit, oh fuck. Like, can't wait for the 4th one because it's now, it gave me the same feeling as like the Fast and the Furious, right? Where they're great blockbusters, go for the summer, go for a night. You like have this hard rock music that you would lift to in the gym I would anyway. And then it's like this driving thing where you don't think about anything else but looking like a badass or acting like a badass. And so, but watching it for this podcast and just watching John Wick, because I knew what the franchise is and where it's building to and the lore that they build throughout the few movies, I kind of like Caleb, I didn't enjoy it as much as I did the first watch when I was just curious about it, even though I had, Ryan with me saying, because he enjoys them. And so he was like kind of quoting it and like they were getting excited for different parts, like the whole thing with the dog and then the whole thing with a fucking pencil, it's
okay, sorry, I don't want to interrupt. That's the best line in the whole movie.
Yeah.
He's killed these men with a pencil, a fucking pencil. I was like, all right.
Yo, that guy is fucking great.
Oh, he's a great,
the goat.
Absolutely.
That was like one of his last movies, yeah.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. So I just feel like, I still, had that smirk on my face while watching this and it was fun. I definitely see the appeal and stuff like that. And the choreography is fantastic. It just sucks that I couldn't, now I want to watch the other 2 because now that you kind of have to get into it because they're in terms of substance, in terms of the backstory of the underground and the assassins and the way the organization works and all these things that kind of get hinted at. And, I did read that the directors, their thing is to leave it up for interpretation. They don't want to give you the answers, which I absolutely appreciate. If that's what you're going for, great. I don't need to be spoon-fed like we were talking about last week. But, but it was kind of, it isn't, but they do flesh it out though more in the next 2 chapters so that you have a more overwhelming, more enjoyable experience, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah. I wonder,
when you get all that.
I wonder going into this movie, because it's very obvious that this is kind of what we were talking about in the beginning of this episode. It's I hope this is a franchise. That's so clearly what they're going for. So I do wonder how much they kind of had going into this, how much they knew. Because you're right in that in the subsequent movies, it does kind of expound on this sort of culture of I guess everyone in the world is an assassin.
Yeah, and that's awesome, and I love it. Sure. But no, it does feel like, yes, there's definitely seems like there's somewhat of a show or a movie Bible that's like, yeah, this is the world that we've set up. You know what I mean? This is how this organization works. These are the rules. These are the people. You know, but it is interesting where I totally feel that because I've had that experience with John Wick so much over the last couple of years. Where just be on TV, I'll throw it on. It's enjoyable, but I'm not like into it while watching it. But last time we were watching for the podcast, I watched it with Michelle, and it was the first time she saw it. And watching it with somebody with fresh eyes made it so much better to watch. And so like that's why like I enjoyed it so much more again this time, I think, because I was like in that perspective.
Yeah, I told Caleb, I think, after we watched it, was like, it's definitely a movie that if someone like in the room says, you know, oh, what's John Wick? You're like, oh, well, okay, of course I'm gonna have to show you John Wick now, because
right,
it is
exactly.
It is very much a staple in terms of this genre of action movie. You know, it's like, oh yeah, you know the guy from The Matrix? Oh yeah, he does it better. As like right. in the same world or whatever. You know what I mean?
You think that this movie's better than The Matrix?
I think it's a different.
That's not what he said.
He just said he did it better. You know, the guy from The Matrix, he does it better. That's what I heard.
Yeah,
you say.
Clearly Keanu Reeves is better in this movie than he is in The Matrix.
Okay, that's your opinion, and you're free to have it.
I think that to justify my opinion or our opinions is that The Matrix as an entire entity of thing, and Keanu Reeves was fine as Neo, as the character, but in John Wick, like because I Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong, but like the writer, he wrote the screenplay and sold it, and then Keanu Reeves jumped on, and then they worked together, kind of. You know, it was Keanu Reeves' idea to change it to John Wick or whatever, and then
the directors, if I'm not mistaken, were the stunt coordinators from The Matrix,
right? And so it's kind of like them getting together and being like, cool, let's just, you know, instead of having like the Matrix world and the real world or like this kind, all these layers, let's just have a super like Keanu Reeves doing his action thing in this single world, you know, without jumping around or anything like that. It's like its own standalone world, environment, universe.
And then that is the craziest part about this movie is the action sequences and the fact it's all him. It's all ridiculously well done and accurate. All the BJJ he's doing could not be more
what did you just
point.
What was that acronym?
BJJ,
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Sorry, my mind went there.
It's all just ridiculously perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then same with like, you know, you've seen the videos of him online at like the shooting ranges doing all the gun stuff. And like, it's just, those scenes are so fucking incredibly high level and well done that it just totally different level in this movie, you know?
Yeah. And then I think that's what I meant by like doing it better. It's more concentrated, I think, in John Wick.
Well, even the character, like Neo's such like a deadpan character the whole time. That's his thing.
Wait, that's the character, or is that Keanu Reeves?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's my point was going to be not. That like, yeah, I'm not like, I don't know. I think it's very interesting how culture has sort of attached itself to Keanu Reeves in recent years. Like, he's not a very good actor, I don't think. I think on all accounts, he's like a very nice person that a lot of bad things have happened to. And I think that that's awful. And I'm glad that he is well respected and gets work for all of those things. But in terms of like, I'm watching a movie and I'm trying to get invested into your story, Keanu Reeves is never the guy who's going to do that for me, because he's so like, this is how I talk. And it's like, all right, for Neo, I feel like because The Matrix is so stylized anyway, and everyone's kind of doing that, like it's not just him, I feel like it works really well. And I think that like The Matrix is one of the movies that like changed things in how we talk about like blockbusters and cinema. Like that is always going to be a classic. And I do not think that John Wick is going to be remembered 10 years from now in the same way it is now. That's my opinion. We'll see. Only time will tell.
No, because it'll be Chapter 7.
Okay.
So they
sure, yeah, you're right. There's going to be a million movies like Fast.
Guys, I am still holding out for the hope that, because Matrix 4 and John Wick 4 come out the same day, and I've said this multiple times on the podcast, I'm still holding out hope that the last acts of both those movies are the same movie. because that would be the craziest thing to happen in movie history. You're seeing one of them, you're like, all right, John Wick, pew, 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 pew. And then third act, boom, unplugged. He's in the Matrix.
I love that your gun sound effect sounds like lasers.
Well, and just like, sorry, I don't want to.
That's how you know he's in the Matrix.
I don't. Oh, you're right. You're totally right. He's like shooting binary numbers at everybody. I don't want to. This doesn't have to be like a Matrix versus John Wick's discussion, but I think the Matrix, like, no one had ever seen anything like that before. And John Wick is like a very well done version of something we have seen before. And so, in my opinion, I would prefer his turn as Neo to this. That's all I meant.
See, but I feel like those aren't mutually exclusive, though, because totally. I mean, no question, The Matrix is the better movie, just in like how it's, you know what I mean? It's The Matrix, like you said. It's Plato's allegory of the cave. Like, that's your starting point, is very deep. So that's 100% fair and clear. You know, even when you go back to the stuff they did cinematically for that movie, it was stuff we'd never seen before. The slow motion 360 camera, brand.
Yeah, like it's undeniably like an achievement. 100%. Like there's before and after The Matrix.
Yeah. What I think me and Josh are both saying is, as an actor, he's a better actor in this movie than in The Matrix. That's how I feel personally.
But that's what he's not. But what he's arguing is that.
No, I totally hear. I get what you're saying for sure. I think, like, obviously it's been at that point almost a decade and a half. Like, it's been 15 years.
Yeah.
But for me,
so growth.
The fact that he is using the same tools in his toolbox, but with Neo, it fits that aesthetic so much more. And in this movie, you have I don't want to say, like, there are like actors that are like emoting in John Wick, and like and he just sticks out. Like, I don't like saying that he's bad. I don't even know if that's the right word, but he's very specific. And there's like a scene really early on where he's trying to cry, and I'm like, this just isn't doing it for me. I don't buy it.
No, I know what you mean. Like, I mean this as a compliment, though, because this is a very like hard place for any actor to reach, and this is what you were referring to before. But he's almost come into a Chuck Norris status now, where you're not going to see it. Like, you could have named the movie Keanu Reeves and done the same thing and made like the character Keanu, and people would have still gone and seen it because it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he has his like his genre, his caricature of like, and it all stems from, I would say, The Matrix. Like, people saw him in that trilogy and was like, oh shit, he's an action like kind of a thing. So let's make these movies that let him do the same thing, right? And with John Wick, I think the difference, for me, is that with Keanu Reeves, it's interesting because, I mean, as men, we're always playing like, we're always aggressive, we're always like, the emotion stereotypically, and I know I'm very generalizing here, so because this is not true, I do not actually believe this, but like, in terms of, because I know I struggled with this in school and things like that, is getting there, being sensitive, because as men we're always told the only emotions that we can emote are anger and happiness, whatever, and like, we can't cry, right? And so I'm not saying that Keanu Reeves can't do it, because I know he can, but in terms of even being like an assassin and being that kind of like unemotional kind of, hard ass, type of thing, you still have other assassins or people like Willem Dafoe and
Green Goblin's in this movie. It's fucking awesome. Adrian Pilecki.
Yeah.
Fucking Theon Greyjoy's in this movie.
Yeah, no, he's great in everything. He's so
how much for the god? John Leguizamo. There's like actors in this movie that are doing things.
John Leguizamo has an amazing scene in this movie. That's one of my favorite. That's probably my favorite scene in the movie, except for when he's like, "Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back."
Yeah, that's the best line.
Miss Perkins or whatever. And so like
Perkins. Yeah,
Adrian Pilecki. But for me though, she still had that kind of that thing behind the eyes where you can be like, you can still be expressive without facial expression, right? And Keanu Reeves in some of those scenes, like, I can't see it on the same level as I can with other actors doing the same thing.
He's not a dramatic actor. And when you have like the whole fucking sad backstory about John Wick's like wife and then his dog, and it's just, it feels like there should be more. I should be feeling something more. And then they very quickly like, oh well, he just is going to murder half of New York now. And also that was like something that I wish that they hadn't opened up the way that they did. I wish they had opened up with him waking up sad that his wife has died.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot that was a thing.
It would have been such a better reveal, especially because he gets his ass kicked by those three guys like breaking into his house. It would have been such a better reveal to then have everybody like, why the fuck did you do that? And then there's no reason for Theon Greyjoy to think he's just some guy. And then he's got the sledgehammer and then he gets all these fucking guns out. And I was like, oh, what? Like, it just ruins it when you see him kind of like bleeding and he's like coming out of the car. It's like, it's just dumb.
I totally forgot that scene happened at the beginning. I agree. It was unnecessary. But the whole building of Theon fucking killing him, I'm gonna stop calling him that. Alfie Allen killing him or killing the dog and everything. And then the just 30 minutes of people trying
just like beating the shit out of him
to understand that like you fucked up so hard is my favorite thing ever. Like the John Leguizamo scene when he's like, oh, you know what Vito likes and doesn't like? Well, I'll tell you what, he's sure as fucking understand. And then he calls him and he's just like, why did you punch my son? He's like, well, he stole John Wick's car and killed his dog. And Vito's just like, and like hangs up the phone.
Yeah, and it would have been,
like, it's so
and it
well
would have
done.
been even better if they hadn't had that scene in the beginning. No,
I agree. That's what I'm saying. I had totally forgot that scene was in it because it's just what we do now.
I think what's
it's annoying. We should start our stories where they begin. I hate like the whole like, obviously this movie didn't go as far as the example I'm about to give you. Like it's not this bad, but it's like that sort of like freeze frame, record scratch. I bet you're wondering how I got into this situation. It's like, shut up. Like, don't condescend to me. Don't talk down to me. Let me watch your fucking movie. I paid $18 fucking to come see it. Just let me watch your goddamn movie. You know, don't talk down to me.
I do find it interesting though with how well the fighting scenes are, the gun handling and things like that. That it was a little bit. I don't know if it was meant to be just a straight vehicle or if they had the other couple movies planned out at this point.
That's what I was asking earlier. Yeah,
because it did seem like so you have the intrusion or like essentially the inciting. Thank you, Brandon. Oh my god,
got you, buddy.
Inciting incident of the dog and everything like that. Which by the way, best actor in the movie is that fucking beagle. So cute. If I could be woken up at 6 a.m. by a dog like that, I would die happy. But it was that. It was like, cool. It crack. The whole, I say it's the whole, Android 16's head being, smashed moment for Gohan, to become Super Saiyan 2 legitimately. Which still moves me, by the way. Anyway, the Cell Saga
very
was
emotionally
the best.
potent scene, yeah.
So his crack, and so he just goes, he just goes off on everybody, right? And everybody who's in the underworld knows it, right? So that's the whole joke is like, he's fucking John Wick. Like they don't tell you really anything about his background until he gets back out of retirement,
But I love that.
It's just a vehicle for him to just destroy New York's, like everybody in the underground, all these thugs.
Yeah. They really get you to feel for this like violent, deranged sociopath as he murders all of these.
Because he doesn't want to.
Yeah,
until he has to.
He's killed a lot of people, but he feels bad about it. Is the thing? All right.
Yeah. Also, I love when Don from the newsroom shows up as the cop. That's one of my favorite scenes. So he's like, "Hey, John,"
and it seems that's interesting because we were talking about it when we watched it. I want because that seems like it's supposed to be a bigger thing than it is. Like I feel like that was maybe supposed to be a bigger thread. Like. I think it's interesting that like the police would know about him.
Right.
But they never expand. There's so many things that they don't expand on. And like, I understand like what you were saying earlier is like, oh, we like to leave things open to interpretation. Yeah. Okay. But at the same time, like, I feel like there's a lot of missed opportunity in this movie.
I just think that that's not leaving it up to interpretation. I think that's just them trying to close a hole, being like, because the easiest thing would be like, this makes no sense. Why wouldn't the cops have arrested him? Fucking, you know what I mean? He's killing everybody. And then to be like, no, this is hooked up high enough that the cops know, and they're, you know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, you can definitely
an easy way to,
but sure,
you can definitely surmise that because a lot of people do say, oh, hey, John Wick, you're back to work. We're not going to say it explicitly, but like,
Right.
you're working again? Cool. Okay,
Yeah, but like
bye.
most of those guys are assassins.
Right. And with the cop, but I think, doesn't that character come back in the next movie?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think so. I don't remember if he did. I haven't seen
But
those
that
movies
might
in
be
years.
because he blew up. Like, that guy's in everything.
Oh my God.
So that
For a
might have-
second, I thought, like, literally, did the character, like, did he blow up? Like,
No,
that
no,
actor
but, like,
kills
he-
himself by lighting Acme.
no,
dynamite.
not in real life.
Don't
Stop,
say
stop,
that.
stop. Not in real
No,
life.
he's fucking fantastic. But that he's been blown
That
up. So he's
actor,
been in
that actor
everything.
cucked Justin Long. Did you know that?
I did not know.
So
that.
this is really funny. We're going on a tangent. So Justin Long dated Amanda Seyfried for like a long time.
Is this libel?
It's just true. Like, just listen to what I'm saying. If you look at the timeline, this is true. So I've done the math. So Justin Long and Amanda Seyfried were dating for a really long time. Amanda Seyfried did a Broadway play with Thomas Sadowski, the actor you're talking about. She breaks up with Justin Long, marries Thomas Sadowski, and has a baby 7 months later. So that's all I'm gonna say. That's all. That's all I'm gonna say.
This before or after Justin Long was married to Drew Barrymore?
Way after. This was like this.
Okay.
This was like this past decade, like recently.
This past decade, such a wide gap of time.
Well, Justin Long was
to be fair,
more like in the mid 2000s and the late 2000s. That's what I'm saying. That's even longer ago.
Sorry, man, I'm behind on my peoples. Jesus.
You brought it up. I'm answering your question.
Brandon,
anyway,
to be fair,
so
2020's been 3 years long.
yeah.
so
To be
you
fair,
can't-
this year has been 9 years. But my point was like, I hear what you're saying, but like, it's the whole. It's not. I'm not talking about like plot holes. I'm talking about like, I want to know what the fuck, like,
Wow, yeah.
This seems to be like an underworld that operates out of this
Right.
one building, that they have their own currency, and like every single person in New York is an assassin. And I'm saying like you had an opportunity to make it more than, and then that's what the sequels are for. I understand that, but I'm just watching this movie and it's really difficult for me to get totally invested because it feels like I'm like, oh, that's something that I'm interested in learning more about, but we're already on to the next action set piece. And again, I understand that's what most people are coming into this like looking for, and that's fine. But I'm saying for me personally, I'm like,
No, 100%. 100%. Like, if they didn't have other movies, this is the type of thing where I'd be like, I'd like to know more. Is there a companion comic book that goes with this?
That's
Well,
what
now
Josh
there's
was
going to
saying,
be a
yeah.
comic book.
Is
They're
there?
creating a comic book.
Great.
And that's what the first thing I noticed, because it was very stylistic in terms of the tone of the movie. I definitely got a very graphic novel-y sense to it. They spent probably a lot of money and stuff in post to like make it look, because all the cars were black. Everything was, it's like
once you
this
said
sleek,
that, I couldn't not think about it. That's totally right. It feels like this was a comic book before, even though I don't think it was.
It wasn't. So they used this as the source material for the thing, which I think is cool when you build a character as a writer that's like this cool kind of almost this god, not god, but
He's kind of a god.
kind of a god in his own world, right?
It's a fucking
And
boogeyman.
he's the boogeyman.
No,
In
'cause they
those
say
subtitles.
the Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga.
And then after the boogeyman, it's so stupid, but like it's fun.
No, it's the guy you could send to kill is a fucking boogeyman.
It's just like who, and you know that these guys, because they're stuntmen, right? And you know these guys are writing this like, oh, this is going to be so fucking cool. It seems like very adolescent, you know.
Well, no, it wasn't.
No,
it wasn't written
was
by the
cool.
stunt guy. It was written by like a screenwriter, but the stunt guys
Who's
came
it
on
written
directed. It was. 'Cause I remember it was.
I thought they had the story.
Well, and they might have changed a little bit of it.
And then when they're on screen, and then you see like all the subtitles come on screen, and some of them are like different colors. It's like, hey, dummy, like this is the important word. And it's just like, I don't know. I'm probably being harsh, but at the same time, like this wasn't even my favorite action movie that came out that year.
You're not being harsh. We're just talking.
So it was written
about
by Derek Kolstad,
Okay.
and
critically.
who has just done the John Wick movies, essentially.
No way, this guy didn't get to break out and write other movies.
But he,
all right, that was being mean.
because he only kind of really
Derek, if you're
started. He
listening,
sold
man.
it. He sold his first script in 2012, so he's very like. And John Wick
so
came
he
out in
right away.
2014. Yeah, and so but what I mean is that like it was this like thing, and then Keanu Reeves jumped on, and then they got the guys to direct it. Those two stuntmen, and so they worked and workshopped and made it what it is today, right? And so when you're thinking about, we talked about it with like even like the DC stuff, like putting the cart before the horse, right? It's hard watching John Wick as a standalone movie because we have the other two movies right now. There's going to be chapter 4, there's going to be chapter 5 in a few years. So they're already planning on that stuff.
They're filming 4 and 5 back to back.
Yes, they are. Yep, and they're going to be released like a year apart. Which I think is great. I love it when they do that and they can just, but it's okay, cool. If you're going to, as a writer, if you're writing anything that's this multiple episodes, you're kind of going someplace and you're only choosing to limit this kind of standalone episode, let's say, or film, like it's still, I feel like it's have its Mary sauce to have its own contained thing, right? Like if they were just thinking of John Wick as a movie, it definitely you're definitely leaving the movie going, that was a lot of fun. I very much enjoyed myself for that July afternoon. But I still have all these questions, and the fact that you have to watch the next movie and they start answering those questions when they start fleshing things out more. Like, where does that fall in terms of kind of how you structure your story or these characters?
I mean, even more so, exactly what you were saying. So I just realized, so apparently that writer also he's the one who did Atomic Blonde.
Oh, it's another kind of lame movie.
But it's also
like Atomic Blonde.
Well, me too. And they asked him, if it's connected, and he's like, it's the same world.
Interesting.
So
everything has to be a fucking universe now. We can't just let movies
and then they were
movies.
like, are they ever going to get them together? And he was like, yeah, we're just waiting for the right script. So that's what's coming. It's Charlize Theron and
that's so.
See, that would be an interesting fight scene for sure. Keanu Reeves, just.
And then apparently there's another movie written called Ballerina. That is another offshoot. That's like another assassin being brought up. It sounds like it's Black Widow.
But did you? Charlize Theron isn't interesting because I also saw her Netflix movie, The Old Guard.
Which I
thought was fun. But
that was a graphic novel too, about Josh, by the way.
The Old Guard.
Yeah.
Nice. Because I like that kind of world they're doing. But it's funny, Atomic Blonde, real quick tangent, that's the only movie I've seen in 4XD or whatever with like the chair that's crazy. And that was so...
Ultra 4XJ.
It was so weird because then it moves if you're like flying or the camera's moving, and it was never again. I'm sorry, it's not worth it for the extra $10.
So it's also like $39.99.
I would never pay $40 to vomit. Like what? Like what are you talking?
You pay $40 to go into an amusement park to ride roller coasters.
Yeah, you pay $40 for a bottle of Ipecac.
Where are you in the world that Ipecac costs $40? This is why we can't have socialized medicine in America.
This is why we can't have nice things.
I thought Atomic Blonde it's just such a bad structure. I remember that movie being lame, in my opinion. I like James McAvoy a lot. Anyway, John Wick.
McAvoy's the man.
He gives fellow shorties like me hope.
John Wick? Keanu Reeves, isn't he like 6'4"?
No, he's talking about
James McAvoy.
Oh.
You fool. Yeah, no, Keanu's very tall.
But you know what I mean, though, about in terms of like that analogy of like, going into these projects. Because Caleb, you're writing like TV series, like you think about TV shows and like writing your own stuff. Like you have, let's say you think about the whole as a picture, but you have to like, okay, what's going to be...
it's definitely not... I'm not trying to be flippant, being like it's the easiest thing in the world. It's definitely a very difficult balance to strike because, again, this movie, John Wick, was clearly written to launch a franchise. So you have to leave room, for more.
Yeah.
But that's why you get paid a lot of money to do this shit, because like when you do it really well, it's seamless. Like The Matrix, where it's like so clear, like it told its story. Like that first movie is its own story, but the world, just the fact that the world itself is so clearly ripe for more. Like, with the machines in the real world and sorry, spoiler for a movie that came out in 1999, but
the biggest movie that came out in 1999.
So it's just like, for this movie, I'm watching it and I guess it's just that it's so clear to me. It's like, okay, this is like, I don't know. It's just very transparent.
Well, I'm glad that you said that, because for me, when it comes down to it, that is what I think makes John Wick, the movie, better than other movies of its type, right? What makes John Wick better than something like Atomic Blonde or whatever, pick one of a million movies, is that they just happen to, with Keanu being everything we just talked about, with the tone of it, them leaving room, all these criticisms are so valid. But knowing exactly what it is, what I'm getting into, it just hits the perfect tone of they're not taking themselves too seriously, but it's well done and it's jokey, but he's awesome. So like it just hit that perfect tone for me of like, this is what I want from just a crazy action movie. You know,
yeah. I definitely I agree, because the next time I'll watch this is when I watch all three of them before I go see the fourth one. I think in terms of like this will definitely when they're all out, this will definitely be like a thing that someone could theoretically like just do like a marathon for a weekend just because it's fun. Kind of like you do your Harry Potter stuff or the Lord of the Rings marathon or any of these like kind of franchises that you sit down and you don't necessarily watch them regularly, but when you do, you watch them as a collective, you know, to get the kind of full story, you know? So, yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
I wish there were more creative kills. Because there aren't really.
Yeah.
It's everybody just gets shot in the head. And again, all of the action is very well choreographed. I'm not saying that that's bad, but like...
No. It's just...
There's one guy that he like breaks his neck over his counter. And that's like the single coolest thing in the movie. And they never do anything cool like that again. It's all just guns. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, how cool is it? Like, how innovative is it? Like, it's a very well done version for what it is. But I don't know. I wish... I just wanted more.
Well, it's that if you're watching it and you're somebody who knows or watches like UFC and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and stuff, everything that he's doing is so blatantly and clearly what it is that's what drew, I think, a different audience into it as well. Mm-hmm. You know, like the audience where you would have lost being like, well, that's not how that works, or it's the opposite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You think
so for these fight scenes,
sorry.
It's a lot of people just being like very specific about.
You think they
like, oh shit,
they did like a foundation first? Because I feel like the next couple movies, and I know I keep bringing up the next movies, but I don't think they're exclusive.
It's very hard to talk about this movie in a vacuum. It has 2 sequels.
Because they get really creative with some of the kills in the next 2 movies. So
dude, the big guy, I don't know if he's a basketball player or what, but in the library in the third one, I think, where they like smash his fucking head on the books and stuff.
Dude, yeah.
That's awesome. More shit like that. And then it's just fucking Halle Berry shooting people and killing me. I don't know.
So, but like it's funny because you have something like this that's
right.
very, you have like the dubstep, like the very hard rock.
Yeah, I fucking hated the soundtrack of this movie.
And it's just like it's specifically used. It's so obvious that it's used to like feel quote unquote badass. I don't know how that, for lack of a better term.
No, that's the exact term.
But like for instance, like the
14-year-old's idea of like cool and edgy shit.
Yeah. You know? And then like, you're tapping your foot. You're like, fuck yeah. Like I would totally take the paycheck to be in an action movie like this. 100%. But in terms of like, you know how Caleb, you mentioned real quick about keeping it slightly open-ended so that you can build off it, right? It's funny because if you compare this to like, let's say the Fast and the Furious franchise, which gives me the same feeling. It's got the cars, it has the action stuff, it has the ridiculousness of it. I feel like for that though, like Fast and the Furious was like it's open, like it wasn't open-ended. It was just kind of like an ending to this great story.
Yeah, no,
and then they've literally like they forced themselves to like create these things. Yeah. And now that you have The Rock in it for the last few, then they keep it more of like thing, but it really is just they're their own contained stories in each of the franchises. You know,
and Josh, even the second one had nothing to fucking do with the first one,
except for they had Paul Walker or whatever.
Paul Walker, but that was it. They just, this is Paul Walker's friend from childhood,
right? And so they're like, they're almost like forcing like new stories, but they're really the same story. But where John Wick, it does at least follow a continuation of like what happens. Because I think at the end of the second one, I think then he becomes like outlawed or whatever, and so he's up to kill. People can just come after him. So
and
cool.
Like,
that's a setup for the third movie.
$10 million bounty.
And then again, he's running in the park, and the thing goes out, and literally every single person who's in Central Park, their phone blows up. It's like, there can't be this many assassins, because then who are you killing? There's more assassins than there are fucking people in this in this
That's
city.
Why you only kill high end. That's why some people have a lot of gold coins, and some people have not as many gold coins.
Hold on. Josh. I have an issue with this. I have an issue with your line of argument here in that I know you watch many animes where this is like completely the plot where everyone's an assassin.
But like,
they get around it in that.
You have to take every like media on its own.
Got him.
No, you didn't got him. You have to take every story on its own terms. Like, anime's like fucking dumb. I love it, but anime's really stupid.
But so is John Wick. That's the point.
But like, I don't know. It's so much easier for me. I think some stuff is suited different mediums. Like, I have no problem watching a bunch of like Japanese teenagers kill each other in cool ways because like it's like a cartoon and like the colors and the way that things are drawn. Like when I'm watching John Wick, which is like a movie that I have to pay a lot of money to go see. Yeah. And it's like, just give me a story, you know, give me something that's not, and like in Japanese, if you watch it in Japanese, you can't tell the acting's bad because I don't understand the language. So like I can just fucking be like, no, that's true. That's why do you think all the dubs are fucking shitty? It's like you have to listen to what they're actually saying. It's like, oh, this makes no sense. This is fucking ridiculous. You watch fucking Death Note in English and he's like, I'll eat a potato chip like this. And it's just like, shut up. What are you talking about? And like, but you watch it in Japanese, it's like, and you're like, yeah, fuck it. Kill everybody. I don't care.
that potato chip looks awesome.
And then like, when you watch John Wick, he's like, I have to kill Yosef as revenge for my dead wife. It's like, that's so dumb. But if it was in Japanese,
it's hurtful how good of an impression that was.
Watashi wa kannoda kendesu. And you'd be like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's do it. I'm fucking down. My point is, anime is the best.
Anime is the best. I've recently started watching Naruto and One Piece, but that's going to get us way
One Piece, I can't. It's just such a monolith. I can't.
That's the thing.
There's 1,000 fucking episodes of this show, Josh, and it's not even close to being done.
Yeah, literally 1,000 episodes.
Why would you start?
Because it's
my brother started. Apparently
it's like legitimately very good, and like it
is very good.
It's worth it to get into it, but it's 1,000 episodes long. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. John Wick is great. I apologize to the nation of Japan for bastardizing their language.
Now that was actual Japanese you were speaking though, right?
Some of the words were, but a lot of it wasn't.
Okay. I was hoping that it was because it's better that way. I don't know what that means.
Ultimate fighting move. No, sorry.
Yeah, that. Don't do that.
Put that out. All right, but anyway, do we have anything else to say about John Wick before I get canceled?
No. Should we rate Mr. John Wick?
It's your episode, baby. It's up to you.
Any other feelings, thoughts,
good.
Josh?
I thought I did great this episode.
Criminal underutilization of Willem Dafoe. I didn't think he had enough cool shit to do because he's such a fucking crazy person that he could have had him do more. In my opinion.
Yeah, but I like to be in the calm guy because you expect him to freak out.
Well, and then like the thing that for me I liked because it did track with him again, kind of open ended that like. He was contracted to, there's like a $2 million thing, which at this point I'm like, $2 million, that's it to kill.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like if this guy's the fucking craziest killer of all time, you got to up that money.
Yeah, because more likely you're probably going to die. You're not actually going to kill him.
Yeah.
But the fact that he like saved him every time, and like.
It's a cool character, but I just wish they had given this. Like when he was getting tortured, I wish he went a little more Green Goblin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, also,
you have him,
Josh. Do we ever find out like how much those gold coins are worth?
They're their own currency. There's no.
They don't explain. They just know that like for like tipping people, you give them like a coin or something, or like
hey, Harry, would you like
when he
to
beat
earn
up
a coin?
Miss Patterson or Peterson or whatever. He gave the guy Perkins. Sorry, not even close. Miss Perkins, to watch her, like he gave the guy, hey, do you want to earn a gold coin? And it's like,
honestly, R.I.P. to the King Harry because he was just trying to do his job. He was just hanging out.
Yeah, no.
And she fucking shot him under a pillow, which
well,
was
then
lame.
She got executed.
I want to see somebody's like fucking head get blown off.
Her execution was dope though.
The frame was cool with that, because I was like, she's kind of off the mark, but
he was so far away.
Where she fell,
I know you had to do it in a wide to get all the other people in there, but like it was just kind of like I wanted to see it,
Wow, you're sick.
Yeah, but like then you wouldn't see the 5 people or however many people.
Well, you can fucking have that establishing shot and then cut in close.
No, it was cool with the people and then the archways and then the Bethesda fountain behind
Ian
her.
McShane was like, I have to go be in Pirates of the Caribbean 4 now.
He's the man.
But no, good.
Dude,
I have to go be in Game
real
of
quick
Thrones.
story.
All right.
Hold on. Yeah, real quick story about him in Game of Thrones and then we'll rate. So there's an interview with Jason Momoa talking. Nope, not right. The guy who played the Hound.
I
can't remember his name. Yeah,
I think it's Rory McCann.
Yes. So it was an interview with him, and he was talking about when Ian McShane, was on Game of Thrones. They had those couple scenes together, over those couple episodes, and he said that like Ian McShane's like such a nice dude and such a good dude, but everybody's just sitting there and like eating these burgers, and Ian McShane is just like, this burger is fucking dog shit. And then like he hucked it and it hit like Rory McShane, who's just like enjoying his burger, and he's like, what's going on? And everybody was like freaking out, and nothing came of it except that the next day they all got like way better food. So Rory McShane's like, he's the fucking man.
That's funny, yeah.
But that was my quick little thing there. I'm ready to rate. You guys want to rate it?
You go first.
I'm going to give it a solid 4 gold coins.
How many stars is that?
Converts to 4.3 stars.
4.3
but we round down.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're exchanging currency, you do have to round down.
As a standalone, I'm going to give it a 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would probably give it a 3 as well. Again, I would never venture to say that it is bad.
Yeah, it just is what it is, you know?
You know, in the same time, you had like Mad Max was coming out. You had the Raid movies were coming out. Just that's what is more interesting to me.
See, Mad Max I wouldn't put in the same category. The Raid I definitely would. That's like a fair 1-to-1. But Mad Max is a totally different thing in my opinion. Just production value, what it is, you know, is just such a bigger thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That should have been, Tom Hardy should have been nominated for the Academy Award for that.
Yeah. That's a great movie. Cool.
He was nominated for The Revenant instead. Do you think that he didn't put him? Yeah, but do you think he didn't put himself up because of Leo?
I mean,
like,
what do you mean?
You know,
he was. I don't know what you mean.
Like, had he because he got nominated for The Revenant for Best Supporting, but to also be nominated for Mad Max for Best Actor.
I don't think he would have won. I don't think the Academy was watching Mad Max for the acting. That was always going to be. That was always going to be Leo's apology Oscar. He wanted it for so long.
He should have got it for Wolf of Wall Street.
He should have got it for Django Unchained, honestly. He's
so
much fun. He's so much fun to watch in that movie.
He should have got it for What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
He should have got it for Critters 3.
He should have got it for Basketball Diaries.
He should have got it for the Titanic.
He should have. But I think he got a Teen Choice Award for that. So
that's obviously
MTV's Movie Award for Best Kiss goes to Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. Sorry, I almost called her Claire Danes, but I knew that wasn't correct.
So you stopped yourself.
You know what? There's a good chance they won Best Kiss for that too.
He should have got it from Romeo plus Juliet.
He should have.
No.
At least been nominated. I like that movie.
I know you do, Brandon. So what are we doing?
All right.
Is it me?
Right,
it's me.
boys.
Sorry. I was waiting for you to go. But then I realized that I was the fool. So next week is American Thanksgiving. And a holiday we associate with family and togetherness. So I want to recommend a nice, wholesome movie about family. So for next week, we'll watch the 2009 film Dogtooth, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. You can watch it on...
This sounds like it's not a family movie.
It is definitely a movie about family.
Right, murderous families?
And you can watch it on Amazon Prime in the States, or you can also watch it on Shudder.com.
There you go.
Yeah, Yorgos Lanthimos has become one of my favorite directors. He blew up this past decade with stuff like The Lobster and The Favorite and Killing of a Sacred Deer.
I really love The Favorite.
I love all those movies.
Yes, this is one of his first movies. It was nominated for the best foreign film from Greece at the Academy Awards. The movie came out. I think it's very good. I'm very interested.
Interesting
to know what you guys think of it.
Okay, I like that. I'm very intrigued.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just read the really quick synopsis of it.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I think it'll be cool and family friendly fun. So.
Shudder's really reaping benefits. That was a worth it subscription.
Shudder's the best. I like Shudder a lot. They have fucking garbage, but it's fun garbage. As somebody who likes fun garbage horror stuff,
absolutely.
And then they have some really good stuff. So
yeah, Shudder. Feel free to throw us some sponsorships. We'll talk about
Shudder. Shudder, we know you're listening.
All right, Brandon, you want to take us off?
All right, guys, thank you so much for listening to 3M Affairs podcast, talking about John Wick and his house and a bunch of other fun stuff today. Tune in next week while we're watching
Dogtooth.
All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll be here next week.
See ya.